We have 1 minute. We got 1 minute. All right, now I have 2 o'clock. Okay, thanks, Joe. All right, call the meeting to order for August 29th, 2022. Where is the agenda? In attendance, I should probably log into the Zoom. I will do that right away so I can see Councillor Jolly. But in attendance, we have 100% with Councillor Jolly virtual. I need a motion to adopt the, thank you, Councillor Mackay, go ahead.
That the August 29th, 2022 agenda be adopted as presented.
Awesome, call for the vote. Okay, that motion passes unanimously. All right, next on our list is presentations, delegations, and announcements. So today we are recognizing Treaty 6 Day here in St. Albert. We have Ryan Arcand with us to accept the proclamation. There's been a lot happening in the city actually with reconciliation and the significance of this day. Of course, this morning, many members of council attended a ceremony over at the Healing Garden to thank Fortis for donating a bench on their corporate path to reconciliation. Ryan and I have spent a couple of days filming along the banks of the Sturgeon River, talking very candidly and openly and just casually about what being a member of Treaty 6 means to us here today. So that was awesome. I don't know when that's going to be posted this week. Okay. So that's good. So I'm gonna, and then of course, before we even started today's meeting, Ryan was gracious enough to conduct a smudge for members of council and some members of staff that wandered in. And so now we all have a very open mind and open heart to our work as councillors. And thank you, Ryan, for continuing to put us in your prayers. All right. So the proclamation, and then Ryan, are you going to come down and say a few words? Okay. My staff, I love them. They put the proclamation in large font for me so I can read it. So Treaty 6 Territory Acknowledgement and Recognition Day. Whereas the signing of Treaty 6 took place at Fort Carlton on August 23rd, 1876, and at Fort Pitt on September 9th, 1876. And whereas the treaty was signed between the Plains, the Wood Cree, Nakota, Saulteaux, Dene peoples, and the Crown, with further signatories added at later dates. And whereas Treaty 6 boundaries extend across central portions of present-day Alberta and Saskatchewan, encompassing 17 First Nations in central Alberta. And whereas St. Albert was founded within Treaty 6 territory, and we want to acknowledge and recognize our connection with the First Peoples of this land. And whereas we recognize that we are all treaty people and that we all have rights and responsibilities with respect to Treaty 6. And whereas we recognize the signing of Treaty 6 was perceived by First Nations as an agreement on how to live harmoniously with settlers, whereas the settlers viewed it as a transfer of land entitlement, resulting in contrasting views that are important for us to acknowledge so we can make progress on the journey towards reconciliation. And whereas Indigenous peoples of Treaty 6 played a significant role in St. Albert's founding and growth, and have celebrated many achievements and continue to make ongoing contributions to our community. And whereas we commit to learn together, move forward more collaboratively, build stronger relationships, and address opportunities and concerns as a community. And whereas we wish to express our honor and respect for the ongoing efforts towards peaceful coexistence and shared community. Now, therefore, on behalf of Council, I, Kathy Heron, Mayor of the City of St. Albert, do hereby proclaim August 29th, 2022 as Treaty 6 Territory Acknowledgement and Recognition Day in the city of St. Albert. One of the things that Ryan and I talked about in the video was how we would always read this proclamation in the past in front of City Hall. And we would raise the Treaty 6 flag at that time. But now we have that flag permanently flying in front of our City Hall. So those residents, whether they're Indigenous or non-Indigenous, whenever they drive by, are reminded of the land that we stand on. So I think that was a significant move by the city of St. Albert in the last couple of years. So come on down, Ryan. And we'll all go down and get our picture taken and you're gonna keep this way.
This is not just your back.
Zoom in.
No, no. I'd like to thank the mayor and the city councilors and the people of St. Albert for the acknowledgement from being part of Treaty 6. I value myself being a St. Albertan and being part of Treaty 6 as well. Walking that fine line with all of us is always great. And being included in a lot of activities within the city of St. Albert is always great. I'm grateful, and so is my family. So thank you, Mayor and City Council, for the acknowledgement for us being on Treaty 6. Thank you so much. I truly appreciate it. Yeah.
Nice to see you.
I was. Oh, good to see you.
Thanks again, Rich. We'll see you soon. All right. Always nice to do that. All right. We have no other registered speakers, so I'm assuming no business arising from that. Seeing none. Councillor Hughes said she would do consent agenda.
You betcha.
No one is pulling anything off, I take it. We're good then.
Okay. The recommendations in the following agenda reports be approved. 6.1, regular council's meeting minutes for August 15th, 2022, and committee of the whole meeting minutes for August 16th, 2022. 7.1, appointments to the Youth Advisory Committee, and 8.4, rescind portion of motion of AR 22-174.
All right, call for the vote. Voting is closed and that passes unanimously.
Excuse me, Mayor Heron, one of the matters on consent agenda was appointment of some new members to one of the
I
committees.
will read them out.
Okay,
Yeah.
just wanted to be sure it didn't
Yeah,
overlap.
no,
Thank
it's
you.
good. So yeah, on consent, we had minutes from previous meetings, and then yes, we had an appointment, few appointments to the Youth Advisory Committee. I'll read them now that they have been approved into the public record, but thank you, Councillor Jolly and Councillor Broadhead. You did some interviews for us. So thank you for your recommendations. It's always exciting to get the youth involved with our community. So I'm going to read 5 names. All of them have been appointed to the Youth Advisory Committee for a term that will expire in December 31st of 2023. So we are welcoming, let's see, Virda Vervatska, Riley Camp Jensen, Emily Jurek, Sydney Sexsmith, and Sage Yakimchuk. So excited to have their voices join the team. And Councillor Jolly, I know you're the rep on that committee, and I'm sure you will enjoy working with them and hearing their great ideas. Oh, Councillor Brata, do you want to add to that?
Madam Mayor, you thank Councillor Jolly and I for doing the interviews. I should be thanking you for allowing me to do the interviews. It was a true joy, and I think Councillor Jolly will echo that, to have 5 individuals come with a passion for our community like these 5 young people did. It was a privilege and quite honestly a joy to do them.
Good. All right. When's the next meeting, Councillor Jolly? Do you know?
I believe it's coming up next week.
Okay, so we'll get letters out to them right away, or maybe we'll just social media them, because I don't know if they read them.
Yeah, if we could send them an email, I'm sure they'd all appreciate it.
Okay, next on our agenda is not on consent, and it's our quarterly update from our inspector at the RCMP detachment. I know we just had Ryan in front of us not that long ago, right before the break, but he indicated that he had more to say. So welcome, Ryan. I'll turn it over to you. And I think, is Todd with us? I heard Todd Walsh might be joining us.
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, good. Hi, Todd.
Hi.
So are you guys going to tag team this?
Yeah, it was probably the same. I have my work plan and annual report to present.
Okay. All right. So who's going first?
I'll go first.
Okay.
Thank you. And I understand there's a jam-packed agenda today with City Council, so we'll try and whip through this as best we can. So just covering the community priorities here for our annual performance plan. Crime reduction. In April, our crime reduction unit partnered with the Edmonton Police Service facial recognition to identify break and enter suspects active in the area. This investigation led to a recovery of a stolen vehicle and stolen property, specifically catalytic converters, which led to multiple criminal code charges. And in June, our crime reduction unit conducted a lengthy investigation into a prolific offender residing in St. Albert, and surveillance led to several breach charges. There was also 40 curfew checks in Q1, which led to a conditional sentence order breach and a number of failed to comply charges. Our crime reduction unit and our drug unit conducted a joint operation into drug trafficking. 2 suspects were identified and charged under the Controlled Drugs and Substances Act. 1 suspect had 58 outstanding warrants in 5 jurisdictions. The second had 24 warrants in 3 jurisdictions. And we also increased our visibility and proactive patrols during this quarter. Events including Pride Day, Farmers Market, Children's Festival, Indigenous Day, and the Rainmaker Rodeo and Parade. Our second priority, which is mental health and vulnerable communities. During this quarter, activities included ongoing efforts in the area of equity, diversity, and inclusion, engagement directed towards vulnerable communities. And our team conducted a number of presentations for Children's Festival, for the Family Resource Center and Family Community Support Services. The grade 6 classes completed the Botvin Life Skills Training Program, which included post-curriculum evaluations. And those evaluations will be assessed by our RCMP National Youth Services for future program considerations. And lastly, our third priority, which is domestic violence and assaults. RCMP participated in discussion around public survey results, review of City of St. Albert support services and resources. Information was presented by Task Force in relation to Education and Awareness Working Group and Jesse's House. RCMP Task Force liaisons are assisting to onboard DART, which is the Domestic Abuse Response Team, those services to the Sturgeon Hospital. This program will assist hospital staff with screening measures in the emergency, maternity, and medicine departments, and it will include awareness and education training being facilitated by the RCMP Domestic Violence to assist healthcare workers with creating a safe environment for victims to disclose domestic violence. So this local shelter called Jesse's House will serve as the primary facilitator, offering 24/7 response on referrals from the hospital And during this quarter, we've had 5 referrals through Claire's Law, and the domestic violence team and victim services unit are working closely to support community high-risk clients. So that's the quick update. I'll open it up to questions, and then I have a quick announcement.
Awesome. Councillor McKay has a question right off the bat.
Yeah, thanks, Inspector. I really appreciate that. And I really appreciate all the information and all the hard work that you've just outlined. I mean, a lot of that is on behalf of like proactive efforts on behalf of you and also your members and the policing committee. But I do have one question, and I just was noticing when I was reading this on the weekend that provincial code traffic in the stats is down some 46% over the first from April to June. Is there any particular reason or anything to be concerned about that? I know 2020 to 2021, we actually saw a little bit of an increase, but is there just something that's not happening, or is it kind of related to my next question, which would be around your staffing levels?
Yeah, it's the latter, Councillor McKay. It's we had three of 7 vacancies we carried through that first quarter. We just had a new member join us from Kananaskis, started with us here last week. So that coupled with some vacation and training, really the enforcement activities have been, are really ramping up now, but they were a little slow through that first quarter.
So, I mean, I guess, is that tied in? My next question is, usually I know we don't run at full complement of 70 established positions, but we're usually right around 61, 62. We're down 56 in this latest quarter. Any change in that? Are we back up into what I would consider traditional numbers, or are we going to be seeing more of like a lower numbers rather than what we've seen traditionally? Yeah,
so the pinch point currently is in our general duty. That's our uniform complement. We've had several departures, and the backfills are either waiting to sell their homes in the communities where they're posted currently, or they're vacancies that our human resources folks are having a difficult time attracting experienced officers to the city of St. Albert. And it's less of a St. Albert issue and more of an organizational issue. There's just not a lot of inventory currently with the depot division. So we are advertising actively to try and attract members to St. Albert, but yeah, we're experiencing shortages fairly consistently across the board.
Yeah, thank you. I guess if we got somebody from Kananaskis, that's a pretty good pull.
Yeah, I would agree. He's a highly motivated guy. He's going to be a great addition to the traffic unit. So I would expect that the city will see more RCMP officers specifically out on enforcement operations through this quarter.
All right, thanks a lot. I appreciate the additional information and background.
Councillor Bermansky.
Thank you again for your presentation, and it was very thorough with information as always. I just had a couple of questions. One is similar to Councillor McKay's. It shows that 10% of your staff off on medical leave. Will those people be returning, or do you know the answer to that yet?
Thank you for the question. Yeah, the majority of our officers that are off duty sick, it's managed with our through health services. So there's a variety of reasons why they may be off work. It could be a physical injury, it could be mental injury. So don't have specific details there, but with a detachment this size, we're likely going to always experience a few employees that are off for various reasons.
Okay, and could you just identify to me what leave without pay is? I wasn't sure about that one.
Yeah, so leave without pay would be an instance where an employee wants to step away for a period of time to pursue further education, or they may want to take time off work for care and nurturing their children, or it may be just a step away for a period of time to pursue a different career choice. Those instances are few and far between, but it does happen.
Okay, thank you. And the one last question, it shows in your statistics, property crime has risen like 40% in that, in the window earlier in the year. Is that looking a little bit better now, or, and is the property crimes, have you caught any of the people, or are they people from the city or from outside the region?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, but I can tell you that those increases, actually, if you compare it to pre-pandemic, they're actually fairly unchanged. I think it's just an indication that things are starting to gradually get back to normal. I'm not suggesting that crime took a holiday during the pandemic, but we are getting busier, and I think it's just a sign that that people are starting to go back to the pre-pandemic type activities. Yeah, we are having some success with our clearance rates. Most recently, the one that sort of stood out to me was we found a suspect committing a significant fraud with a seniors couple, posing that they were required bail money for their grandson or granddaughter, or whatever, to the tune of about $9,000. So we jumped into action on that one. Actually, the guy was coming to the home to collect the $9,000 bail money. He was an adult, but a young adult nonetheless, from Ontario. So that was a good win for my team. Certainly, a lot of this stuff it goes undetected, and a lot of these types of crimes are being conducted remotely in various locations across the globe. And so this one was good. It provided a lot of awareness and education to the seniors demographic in St. Albert. It picked up a lot of coverage through the Edmonton media outlets. So yeah, we're catching property suspects or property crime suspects. With that increase in occurrences, yeah, we're doing the best we can with what we have.
Okay, and I'll just thank you again for your report. It's always thorough, and your new work with the people in neighborhood, follow up as well is great. So thank you again.
Thank you.
Councillor Broadhead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Through you to the inspector in charge. Thanks for the report as always. I appreciate it. Just a couple of comments more than anything, and maybe you can maybe just make a comment about whether this is normal. I was reading through some of the current status and results around crime reduction, and you noted two particular suspects. One had 58 outstanding warrants in 5 jurisdictions. Second had 24 warrants in 3 jurisdictions. Is this normal that we have people with this many outstanding warrants cruising around our community doing nefarious things?
No, not at all. St. Albert's one of the safest cities in the country for a reason. And we're very proactive. Like our crime reduction unit, we're keeping tabs on anyone in the community that is active. We also have a lot of initiatives ongoing in the way of intelligence-led policing. So when we have a bad actor in town, we usually find out pretty quick, and we'll pick up on them, keep a close eye on them, and as soon as they step out of line, we're usually there to pick them up. So no, in that type of an instance, I think that's certainly an anomaly for that type of for that number of warrants in that number of jurisdictions. Yeah, we were glad to move those two along for sure.
I appreciate that, and thanks for all the work that you guys do. It's a hard job that you've signed up for, and a lot of times you don't get the credit that you deserve. And here's more of a comment back to the people in charge. You had a little note, and I'll read it out. So the quote is, inquiries regarding the retroactive pay raise can be directed to the CMC Secretariat at ps.cmcsec-gcesec.sp at ps-sp.gc.ca. A mouthful to be sure, and I'm not sure who's going to do that, but I did. And it's just like, I mean, it's just your normal website. So now you're back to the search of inquiries regarding retroactive pay. And then I did that and it just directs you to documents. So if I'm a citizen, I want to know, how do I get a live voice on the other end of the line? So that's just a comment, and you can pass that on, because I was frustrated trying to find out somebody and I wanted to talk to somebody and it just wasn't happening. Anyway, thank you, Madam Mayor.
Good for you for trying it.
You can
Um,
talk to me if you like. You can always talk to me.
Yeah, I can talk to
The
Ken.
the
Thank you, Ken.
retroactive pay is a sensitive topic that we're all dealing with right now. I can't remember what it means. Does Diane know what it means for St. Albert? At one point it was 3, now it's about 2.5 billion. Is that right, Carrie? The retro pay.
Sorry, it's basically just around 3 million, just under.
3 million.
Yeah,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
under.
Yeah, it's a big chunk of money that, although not unexpected, and the city was saving up for it, the contract came in a little bit higher than we had anticipated. But at this point, municipalities have been told not to pay. We're not getting billed yet. We should have seen it in May, the invoice, but the federal government has decided to consider how they're going to move forward with this. My opinion is any negotiation that was done on our behalf should be paid on our behalf, not the ongoing. I mean, I completely agree with the final result, but the retro pay is a different one, and that's not your problem, Ryan. I totally get that, but anyway, yeah, I'll just add a thank yous. I know, recruitment is an issue, and I'm sure it's even more difficult given the current climate in Alberta and the uncertainty about the future of policing. So I appreciate you guys continuing to come to work and putting your best effort forward to keep our community safe. Yesterday, Saturday, we had a community barbecue just outside City Hall, and we had at least 3 RCMP officers come by looking for hot dogs. So, or just really to connect with the community. So that was nice to see their faces there. So thank you. Any more questions, guys? All right, why don't we,
Todd's.
yeah, I had one more, a little bit more information, because I tried to Google it and I couldn't see much on the lighthouse project. You had a presentation to your diversity committee about the lighthouse project that the city of Edmonton is doing. When I Googled it, I saw a few communities out east participating in the lighthouse project. I'm just wondering if that's something we're going to start seeing more in St. Albert.
Yeah, so I actually just reached out myself for an update. So I'm expecting hopefully something this week, and I'll certainly pass it on to both the diversity committee and the policing committee. And then that information could be provided up to yourself and council.
Can you describe it a bit?
Yeah, it's essentially I guess it's a program to combat hate crime and graffiti in the community. So essentially it's a database where people in the community can take a photograph of a graffiti on a building or on a sign or on a fence, and it goes into a central kind of receptacle where graffiti and hate crime experts kind of collaborate, and they try and identify the source or the meaning of the particular graffiti or tag. So to me, it's it's certainly designed for bigger cities that have certain areas that are where graffiti is very prominent. But that being said, I think the city of St. Albert, a city of this size, would certainly there would benefit as well. So it's proactive, and I believe the cost is zero. So I've certainly put our hand up here at St. Albert to say, if you're looking for a pilot from the RCMP in the Greater Edmonton area, we'd be happy to jump on board for that.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, we'll probably ask you about that next time we see you, see where it's going.
Great.
All right, Todd.
Perfect. Thank you, Madam Mayor and Council. Just quickly, I just want to present, we should have received our 2021 annual report and our 22 business plan, or work plan, that is. Just some basic highlights from the annual report. The annual report, as you've probably read through it, is a COVID pandemic report. So much of our activity was limited to online meetings, and that's about it. So our public engagement was just not there, and that's a big bulk of what our committee has done in the past. Yeah, the long and the short of it is that's exactly it. So pretty straightforward. At it, Appendix A is some of the work that was done over the year, but most of it will be ongoing, and we'll continue on that for the following year, 22, and then probably into 23. Same with the work plan. It was the previous work plan was more or less all items were most or less put on hold due to the pandemic, and we're just going to pick them up because we thought it was a solid plan and it aligned with our new objectives we did with the inspector on public engagement. I think that's the key thing here, is getting word back out and engaging with the city of St. Albert, and getting our programs and resources available to everyone. And that's about it. If there was any direct questions with any of the reports supplied.
Are you guys meeting in person yet?
Yeah, we started meeting in person, and thank you to Everett for hosting us at the new fire hall. So we're going to probably take up residence there for our monthly meetings. It was convenient and worked well for us, and we greatly appreciated that. Yeah, but we're meeting in person. I think we've met twice already in person.
That's good. So it makes it maybe somewhat easier for public to come and listen or join.
Yeah, and we'll post it. I don't know if we could host public at the fire hall. That I'd have to get advised on it. But if not, it's all scheduling with the city hall in the room as well too. So, but and I think we're meeting at the RCMP station on the next visit as well too. So, but the whole idea is we're going to still Zoom in, and I'll probably be corrected on that too if we can and can't do that as well too. I know Ryan has his hand up there.
Yeah, Ryan, you got your hand up?
Yeah, we are going to try and meet here at the next policing committee meeting here at the detachment. And I just wanted to let everybody know that I'm going to be hosting a virtual town hall on September 12th at 6:30 p.m. So bring all your hard questions, shoot them my way. And we're going to showcase our community policing program. And we'll obviously get that out through the city communications team, and hope we get lots of interest from the public on this time.
Okay, good. We'll get that in our calendars and too. All right, any members of council have a question for Todd? No, I think we're good.
Easy.
Thanks, Todd, and thank the committee when you see them again for what they're doing. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
I would also add, Todd, when we're having conversations about provincial policing and changing and governing styles in Alberta, I always hold up the St. Albert Policing Committee as an example of how it does work in communities. So thank you.
Yeah, perfect. And we've gotten questions as well too when we've done the farmers market specifically for some of the hot topics, especially provincial policing. And we thank you for keeping us in the loop on some of the decisions that council has made as well too, so we can communicate those to people that have asked.
Absolutely, for sure. Okay, Councillor Mackay, you're on the committee. You want to make the motion? Oh, you're already ready to go. Go ahead.
That the St. Albert RCMP Municipal Policing Report for Q1 2022/2023 be received as information. And that the 2021 St. Albert Policing Committee Annual Report and the 2022 Policing Committee Work Plan be received as information.
Awesome. Any comments?
No, I think I just open it all up in the questions, and I know that, and Todd summed it up really well. I think that the ongoing dialogue that's occurring in the province creates some angst, not only for our members, but also for our community. And I just want to let everybody know that they're doing a great job. Both the RCMP and as well as our committee members. They're always out in the community anyways. Thanks.
All right. I see no one else wanting to speak, so I'll call for the vote. Voting's closed. And that passes unanimously. Awesome. 8.2, I'm turning it over to our new Chief Administrative Officer to give us a brief overview of the presented corporate business plan. Take it away, Bill.
Thank you, Your Worship, members of council. Today, obviously, I'm going to share with you for information the 2022 to 2025 corporate business plan. As you know, the business plan is a foundational document that supports the advancement of your strategic priorities, your strategic plan, and aligns our activities with your priorities. It's produced by a multifunctional team from across the entirety of the city. And the plan focuses our efforts as administration over the next year as we continue to deliver on programs and services in the community. And I would be remiss up front if I did not thank everyone involved for their hard work to date. The plan assists with balancing the maintenance of our high standards expected for delivery of programs and services with the realities of our financial and resource situation, ensuring a place for forward-thinking activities as we continue to position St. Albert for a successful and sustainable future. As you know, the plan consists of two sections. The first specifically is implementing council priorities, and then the second is organizational excellence. The way I differentiate between the two, the first is really what you've told us to do. It is your assigned tasks to us. The second are those that are implied or necessary to provide a strong institutional base for the city administration to achieve the first. The implementing council strategic plan initiatives that we will undertake to advance your 5 strategic priorities: economic prosperity, a vibrant downtown, community well-being, adapting to a changing natural environment, and financial sustainability. Some of the key initiatives that I'll highlight over the next 4 years to make progress are advancing the development of the Lakeview Business District with an area structure plan and the attendant neighborhood plan and servicing for the business district. Developing an investment attraction strategy to continue to grow and mature St. Albert. Updating the land use bylaw, and in particular, completing the infill strategy to foster development throughout St. Albert. Facilitating and supporting downtown businesses and commercial property owners to leverage opportunities that benefit downtown and help bring more people downtown consistently. Reviewing and prioritizing the downtown area redevelopment plan, or the DARP, for future projects. Facilitating an increase in the variety of housing types, advancing
Bill?
mixed market.
You might want to move your papers.
I'm totally covering myself up. For those who were watching, you're welcome. You didn't have to stare at me for the last couple of minutes. But then facilitating an increase in the variety of housing types, advancing mixed use market housing, and completing a feasibility for the study of youth transitional housing. Completing community amenities, needs assessment, and concept planning, along with council direction related to securing ownership of lands for a future community amenities site. The ongoing delivery of programs that provide incentives to encourage residents to implement energy efficiency and renewable energy upgrades. Advancing several initiatives to help the city explore opportunities to diversify our revenue sources, generating a net positive revenue and alternate service delivery options. And we will continue to work on further exploring and implementing opportunities identified in the operational and fiscal review and audits that were completed, including the procurement audit, risk management audit, and including incorporating environmental, social, governance, ESG risks and opportunities when making decisions. The second piece, again, our organizational excellence priorities for administration specifically that inform our ability to accomplish what I just read. And that outlines areas, goals, and initiatives that we will undertake to ensure a strong and sustainable organizational foundation, focusing on our people and our structure and how we do business, our focus, our community relations. It's important to note that some of these initiatives in the business plan are subject to budget approval. That is, they have not been previously funded. And obviously, they will factor into our ongoing priority-based budgeting work in the coming weeks and will be brought forward as necessary for council's consideration during budget deliberations. As part of our standard practice, also, council's strategic plan is reviewed. Your strategic plan is reviewed and updated on an annual basis. And as such, we would conduct the corporate business plan review annually as well to ensure that it remains synchronized and nested within the council strategic plan. We'll continue to provide quarterly updates on the initiatives in the corporate business plan. And with that, I will conclude and be happy to answer any questions you may have.
All right. Opening it up to questions. I have a couple if nobody wants to start us off. Okay, I'll go first. Just real quick, whoever wants to jump on this one. The very first initiative under the economic prosperity strategy is complete servicing design for Lakeview Business District. Which is great, but my question was just design, or is there any intention to actually fund that, or is it not in the plan because we haven't approved funding? Because I think there's a desire from this council to not just design it, but to do it.
Thanks, your worship. I'll just see, I don't know if we've got planning or engineering online. I would let them initially take it. What I can tell you is that the design is 100% planned for 2023. But in terms of the prioritization of the work, I would have to get back to you in terms of the intent for that over the course of 2023. We were hopeful, certainly, that we would begin that, but it wouldn't be concluded during the next construction season.
Okay. Yeah.
Adrian's there.
Adrian online.
Hi, Adrian.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council. Yeah, so to your question, the intent obviously is to not eventually, as soon as possible, get Lakeview serviced or come to council with a case for servicing Lakeview. However, I'm speaking a little bit for Donnie on this one. I think we need to get the design done before we would come forward with the ask for the remainder to actually fund the build of the servicing.
Okay, yeah, so we're just, I mean, I think don't want to speak for the rest of my council, but I have a feeling it's a priority that they would gladly fund. So I guess it's just a little bit too bold to put in their design and construct the servicing.
Yeah, I think it's almost a chicken and an egg discussion.
Okay.
Yeah, so once we have the design and we'll have a better idea of what the actual cost and scope is, then we can come forward to ask for the rest.
And it's a similar thing for Millennium Park. It's just, you just have design, but that one is probably a little bit more controversial. I'm not sure we have unanimous, but on the third strategy, which is community well-being, you want to complete a feasibility study to determine the readiness for building and or establishing a youth transitional home. And I don't know what that's going to cost, but I felt like what's involved with that feasibility study, whether it's feasible, because I think the report that the homeless Mayor's Task Force on Homelessness was very clear that this is the one and only recommendation out of that report. So I don't know why we have to do another feasibility study or what would be involved with that.
I'll have to get back to you
Yeah,
specifically, but I think this was less focused on the argument behind the need and more focused on the actual, so what, how would we get from A to Z in terms of the designation construction.
And then of course you want to do housing needs assessment study. That's the next one under. I felt like we just did a housing needs assessment study not that long ago. And honestly, we know there's a need. So I don't know if spending a bunch of money on a needs assessment is the right choice, because we know there's a need and we're just looking for opportunities to meet that need. I don't know. Maybe it'll come to us as a business case and we can have the conversation.
Absolutely, your worship. I think in this instance as well, that it takes it beyond the need. We know that there's a need for multiple types of housing at multiple levels of occupancy and affordability. But what we don't know is what are the optimum needs for St. Albert. And that's the piece that we really need to hammer.
And last question under adapting to a changing natural environment. On Friday at the EMRB, we had a conversation about the climate risk assessment analysis, whatever it was called. And at the very last page of that report, they did municipal comparisons on what each municipality in the region is doing towards climate. St. Albert, quite far ahead of most people. Leduc, though, really advanced, Edmonton and Leduc. And Leduc had a greenhouse gas reduction plan, and I'm just throwing it on the floor as something we might want to look at. I don't know what that would involve, what it would cost, or if we could just maybe even copy some of the stuff that Leduc is doing, but it could fit as a initiative under our climate thing.
Yeah, thank you, Worship. And that'll come out of the climate risk vulnerability assessment of where our gaps are moving forward.
Well, okay.
Yeah,
All
so
right.
that would come
I'll
out of
just
that.
keep on it. Okay. Because I see there's sort of separate. we're, a climate risk assessment is kind of where St. Albert's at risk, but a greenhouse gas emissions just really doing our best to prevent further damage, right? Yeah.
Thanks, Your Worship. We actually have CEO's meeting coming up in the next little while, like next week, in fact, where we're going to start sharing some best practices. I'll touch base with Leduc.
Perfect.
And
Yeah.
talk a little
Now,
bit.
you know the city manager out there.
Yes.
All right. Anyone else have any questions on the corporate plan? Councillor Mackay, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Mayor. And I guess it's more of a comment question than a question, pardon me. And I need somebody to cue my memory a little bit. So when we get the quarterly reporting as to updates or the dashboard, so does it actually identify the area whose responsibility is to complete this in the corporate plan? Have we incorporated that? I'm trying to remember back, and I tried to look back. And of course, our last quarter report only had the financials. So do we actually, I don't know if Daria is on there or not, but is there somewhere on our dashboard or somewhere on our reporting documents that actually identifies that area of the corporation responsible for carrying out the actual plan? That piece, that identified area?
Councillor Mackay, are you referring to like which action area, like which service is being delivered and who will actually, which department?
Correct.
Yes.
So when we get the report back quarterly, and we get whether we're meeting it or not meeting it,
yeah.
is it also tied to a cost center or to somebody who's responsible for making sure that that's happening within the organization? Or, I mean, or do we just keep it at such a higher level that we don't actually have it? I guess my question is queued a little bit only in the sense of we had to get we sought some from Adrian or something like that. So that's all I'm just wondering.
Yeah, so we have the data. And so, in terms of the level that we provide that data, we can definitely look at it. But we do have which cost centers, which department is responsible for, right down to who's actually doing the work. The information that we share back through council through the quarterly or annual report is at a higher level, but we do have that information that we can relook at.
Yeah, I just thought, sometimes in corporate business plans, they actually, and part of strategic plans, they put a champion, for lack of a better term, who's responsible for within the organization for ensuring that it's getting done or not getting done.
Yeah. So we'll look at adding that information.
Thank you. That was my only comment.
Okay. Councillor Jolly, then Councillor Killick.
Thank you. So under the first priority, infill strategy is mentioned. Is that the same as the mature neighborhood revitalization strategy project?
I'm going to let either Adrian or Christina address that question.
Why don't I see that one?
Adrian looks like he has it.
Through you, Mayor. So the mature neighborhood infill strategy is essentially, it's the neighborhood revitalization strategy, or there's a component of neighborhood revitalization in that. So.
And is that underway? I didn't see it on Cultivate the Conversation last week at all.
We've just internally started the work on this one. We had a position that was on mat leave that we were waiting for to get back to undertake the task. So
great, thank you. That's all I have.
Councillor Jolly, where is that? What, I totally missed that.
Infill strategy?
Yeah, it's under the priority 1.
Yeah, it's under priority 1, but it's in the first column. It's not in the last column, which I found strange, but that's great that we're working on it.
Okay. All right, thanks for pointing that out. All right, Councillor Killick.
Thank you. Question regarding ownership of community amenities site. It says secure ownership of the lands. I thought we had secured that and finalized it, and was kind of the first step, and then we did the servicing. Are we still working on that?
Through your worship, through council to Councillor Killick, is we are finalizing the final agreement right now, but the intent is that the ownership would come to the city.
Okay, thank you.
We're good. All right, Councillor Broadhead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Again, thanks for the report. Just curiosity, the ASP for the Lakeview Business District, what's the timeline on that coming to council again?
Councillor Broadhead, I'll let Christina Peter speak to that one. She's been, well, or maybe not.
No,
Nice
I assumed Adrian would be able to answer that one as well.
Yeah.
We're anticipating coming back for Q2 of 2023. We've also got some subsequent plans within the, we call it now the St. Albert West Area Structure Plan, and then we'll have the neighborhood plan for Lakeview done as well, somewhere around the end of Q2 2023.
And just
Sure,
to add on to that, Councillor Broadhead, so there is an engagement component along the way. So when Christina mentioned the Q2, that's to return to council to review the item for potential approval at that time.
Yeah, the actual community engagement will be happening in the fall of this year.
Okay, fair enough. The reason why I ask is the timing bars, if you will, in the report are meant to be macro, and I get that. But we're interested in the development of that Lakeview Business District, and I recognize it's a bigger question around the ASP for the West, but the sooner we can get the planning work done, the sooner we can get the servicing in there and start getting businesses into the West. So thank you for that.
All right, I don't see any more questions. So I would look to a member of council. Thank you, Councillor Mackay. Go ahead.
Excuse me, that the corporate business plan 2022 to 2025 provided as an attachment to the August 29th, 2022 agenda report entitled City of St. Albert Corporate Business Plan 2022 to 2025 be received as information.
Any comments?
No, I think it's a great first, and has been mentioned by other councillors. I mean, it's a broad overview and it sets the direction after by the corporate and by administration, pardon me, of our strategic plan. And so I believe everything is in there, and I look forward to kind of action as we move forward and get reports on the next 4 years.
All right. Anyone else have any comments? All right, thanks, guys. Marching orders is finally, seems like a little late in our term to get this done, but yeah, it'll carry over into the next term, so they get their feet under them before they have to do this. So call for the vote. Voting's closed. That passes unanimously. Awesome. All right, 8.3 is the 10-year growth plan update. It was supposed to be on consent 2 weeks ago, I think it was. And I pulled it off. So I'll go straight to my questions if that's okay. Okay, I had a question on, because I just honestly don't understand it. The housing options for affordability and accessibility. So when I first read it, I thought it was about accessibility for people with disabilities or something, but it's not that. When I read it deeper, it's about access to funding. And so I can't remember how much this was worth. It was like $100,000. So we're going to put $100,000 where? Is it just going into a fund to? I mean, it sounds like we have to, and I see Laura here, thank you. I'll go a little bit further. It sounds like we have to, they prioritize communities who provide funding, land contributions, or some form of private-public partnership to support market housing development. That's how we're going to get the fund. So isn't, for example, donating 22 St. Thomas sufficient to give us access to the fund, which is much bigger than, where did the 109 come from? Like, I'm just very confused.
Mayor, I'm sorry, it's Cheryl.
Okay.
I apologize before you get the answer to the question. This was on the table, so we need a motion to lift it off of the table. Thank you.
Even though it's on the agenda today?
But it moved to the agenda because it was tabled.
Okay. You said you do that, Councillor Broadhead? Thanks for the reminder. You should have reminded me in our prep meeting.
I apologize.
It's okay. Okay, just put it up on the screen and Councillor Broadhead will read it in. Can it be simple as item 8.3 10-year growth plan update be lifted from the table? Oh, you got it? Okay.
I move that the 10-year growth plan update be removed from the table.
Call for the vote. Look at us being all legislatively correct. Oh. Who do we need? Councillor Killick? Okay. Oh, he's in. Okay. Passes unanimously. All right. I hear Lori's on the phone, so we're on the line. Lori, can you help me out with this one?
It's through you, Madam Mayor. The partnership opportunities is a fund to just sort of partner with other people to enable incremental development. So it could be a partnership with a developer to say provide $15,000 per unit to provide some affordable housing within that development. It could be something like partnering with Habitat for Humanity, which requires a 30% contribution from municipal governments when they do develop their projects. It also aligns with the national housing strategy and the provincial housing strategy, requiring a partnership from all levels of government. And yes, contributions for land for say the 22 St. Thomas Street site is definitely a municipal contribution, but this was broadening our perspective past that development to continue initiatives moving forward.
Okay, so where did 109 $1,000 or $140 come from? It's an odd number.
I'll answer that one, Mayor. So when we first initially proposed this, it started out at $100,000, and I've adjusted it a couple of times for CPI, inflation, etc. So it just has crept up. It's just applying percentages to the 100,000.
Okay, and one last question, I guess. Why could we not do this on a case-by-case basis? So if we wanted to partner with Habitat, we provide them money. I feel like we're putting money and we have nowhere idea, at least at this time, what we're doing with it. We're just holding it. So I don't know why we couldn't do this on a case-by-case.
I guess you could do through Mr. Mayor, Madam Mayor, you could, but I guess we wouldn't have anything to offer anybody until we went to council. So we couldn't really even participate in any discussions if we didn't know if we had any money to contribute.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to stand in the way of it today. Obviously, I think we obviously want to do whatever we can to take advantage of that federal money and provincial money, but I might be making more questions and maybe adjusting it back to 100 just to make more sense or something at budget time. So, we have other questions. Councillor Bermansky.
Thank you. Through the mayor. I may not be fully understanding this 10-year program, but in this 10-year program, it's showing the date of the funding for 2023 in all cases. So I just had a question on the 400,000 for the new software. We were in the Posse to Prospero transition for our permits, and it seems like the Prospero failed in the transition to XLR permits. So do we need to be spending that 400,000 in 2023 or in a lot of these other things in this group? I understand that there's many things listed here, a grader, the loader and blower, sidewalk machines, many things that the city needs to maintain services, but it's a 10-year listing, but I'm seeing everything as an expenditure for 2023. So if someone could clarify to me if they would all be expenditures in the 2023.
I'm going to take a quick stab at this. So we'll have at budget time, we will have the 10-year capital plan where you'll see everything, which is 2 or 3 pages of capitals, and it'll identify the year. A couple of years ago, projects that were not approved the year before were thrown into the capital plan and then just highlighted for us. And so we thought that there should be a separate motion to put them into the plan. So this is essentially what we're doing now. We're not debating whether it's going to get done in 23 or 24, or even if it's going to get funded at all. It's just staff needs permission to even bring them forward at budget.
Okay, and so why are they listed as 2023, all of them?
I'm assuming they probably assume they need them in 23, but that would be a debate. We could have a budget, but you want to further add that?
I'll offer the floor to Anne Victoria if she's got anything to comment, but
Hey, Ann.
yes, Mayor, that's correct.
And yes, through the mayor, and the mayor's correct in the fact that this is just to add these charters to the plan. But you are correct. The intention is that they would get added to the 23 portion of the plan, and then through the proposed budget in October, we would bring back a recommendation, which not necessarily would include these. We would base it on the capital prioritization that would be vetted, and then come back through that process with recommendations for funding.
Okay.
So these haven't gone through the prioritization yet?
They're just going through the process. Once council adds them to the 10-year growth plan, then we will take them through that vetting of the prioritization criteria. And then we'll include that when you see the proposed budget as part of, we'll make the recommendations at that time.
So that could alter whether it's funded or not, or what year it's funded.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay. So I was surprised to see a bunch more things added onto the budget, but I guess we'll deal with it when it comes up then. So thank you.
I know. I agree. That's $2 million. we're
2 million,
adding in.
too many 2 million. Thank you.
Councillor Killick.
Thank you. Just a similar question, actually. It was around saying, if these come forward at budget time and get approved, there's associated operating dollars with each one of these. We're going to buy a grader, and we need to hire somebody to operate it. We're going to buy a sidewalk sweeper, snowplow, and we need somebody to operate it. So does that mean do we approve both pieces at the same time, both the capital and the assumption that goes into the operating to
I don't see it in the chart.
hire new people, or?
In the budget, there is a page that's attached to the capital plan that has operating impacts, for sure.
Yeah, it's listed here, but so that's where I picked up that each one of these requires a person to run it, which I get. But when we approve it, are we approving both capital to purchase and long-term forever operating dollars to run
If
it?
it's presented as a recommended funded project, then that operation dollars are built into the budget.
The two go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. I just wanted some clarity. I'm completely supportive of it. I honestly didn't understand. All right. Can somebody move that motion for me? The two of them, actually. Councillor Hughes, thanks.
No problem. That administration update the 2023 to 2032. Get those cute numbers reversing. Municipal growth capital plan to include the project charters provided as an attachment of new growth initiative charters, and that the revised 2023 to 2032 municipal growth capital plan be included in the 2023 to 2025 business plan and budget document to be provided to council in the fall of 2022, along with funding recommendations guided by the capital prioritization matrix.
Awesome. Anything to add?
I just appreciate the clarity and transparency about adding these to the budget, so at least we know they're coming. We had in the past, as you said, like surprise additions, and that's why we have this process. So at least we know that they're coming. It doesn't mean they're going to be approved, doesn't mean they're even going to be recommended, but just having them in the plan and have that fair disclosure about it so that we are all on the same page when we start this budget is necessary. So I'm glad that we're doing this.
Perfect. Yeah, just process. Call for the vote. Voting's closed and that passes unanimously. 8.4 was on consent. I'll read it. It's a little bit long. So that the following portion of the approved motion AR 22-174 be rescinded. So that a public hearing pursuant to subsection 64(1) of the Municipal Government Act be set for September 19, 2022 in council chambers during the regular council meeting scheduled for that date on the matter of a resolution to approve making available for potential sale, lease, or other disposition the municipal reserve property legally described as Plan 80222231, Block 1, Lot 63 MR, and which is the old Fire Hall 1, for anybody who's following along. Directing the CAO to request that the Register of Land Titles remove the municipal reserve designation from the title of the subject property, and that administration undertake the required advertising for the public hearing, including posting notices on or near the subject municipal reserve property pursuant to section 64(3) of the Municipal Government Act. So essentially, we're just going to take some more time to figure out what we're doing with Fire Hall 1. So, all right, we are back. We're at the oh no, updates. Da-da-da. Okay, who wants to go first? I don't know. Why don't I start with you, Councillor Killick? You ready to go? You want me to come back to you? Civic updates?
Yeah, I'll do my updates for sure. Sorry. It does go back a long time in history, though.
Yeah.
It seemed like ancient history back to CSAC had our meeting on June 28th. We talked about whether the team would like to receive training on unconscious bias. And that was part of something that was provided during council orientation. So we were able to talk about that, and it was determined that if we could secure free or low cost training for unconscious bias, that would help everybody on CSAC. We talked about the civic granting policy changes that are coming forward to council. It was a fairly lengthy overview, and generally the team, I think, accepted that this kind of new umbrella approach was the right way to go. They felt that there was maybe little opportunity. It was an improvement to have a standard policy, but there was not a real deep understanding of what it might mean to that particular committee themselves. They were concerned about kind of making sure they were still relevant in the overall funding process and granting process. And we also discussed that we would want to, whenever we could easily schedule and not be intrusive, and maybe do it on a one-on-one basis, but have a tour, meet and greet of the agencies that we were funding so that we actually saw and met directly with the people. So that was well received. I think, you know, giving money is one thing, but actually seeing it in practice in the community is another thing. And that was well received. So on to the next one.
EAC, yep.
EAC, we had a tour again. This goes back to the spring almost. It feels like June 24th. Had a great field visit. We toured the community garden, and we toured it, Stormwater Pond, the bus barn. Both saw the electric buses. I had a great presentation from the team there. And went up on the roof, and with a great deal of safety protocols in place, and got a close-up look of the solar panels. And then we also talked about repair and area rehabilitation that was underway across from Riel Park. So actually had a lot of information sharing and learning, and was a good session for EAC. And then for last one on Northwest Watershed Association, I think the big thing that all of council has seen is Smoky Lake applied for the North Saskatchewan River to be nominated Canadian Heritage Rivers, and that was received. So a very good point there. And we also have reviewed online through an exchange of documents. All the board members reviewed our mandate and roles and responsibilities, and that was required to have that signed off by all the municipalities supporting NSWA so that they could go and reapply for their Government of Alberta grant. And as in similar years, they're looking for roughly the same amount, $500,000. for each year. And a little bit different this year that they're again requesting that the granting be for a 4-year period so that they have some long-term stability in their work plan and funding levels.
Awesome. Thanks, Councilor Cook. When you go back to your next EAC, the Environment Committee, maybe share the strategic priority and the corporate plan, and you guys can delve into it and share what I said, that when they were comparing the municipalities across the region, St. Albert's doing really well. I think we're one of the few that have reached level 5 or whatever it's called of the climate partners in climate action. Yeah. That which is an FCM grant or program.
Okay.
We're one of the few. Councillor Mackay, which one do you want to start with? Leasing?
Actually, this will be pretty simple and easy because actually none of my committees met over, and I reported last time I reported was on the activity in June, and so I had none of my committees met over the summer.
Although I don't know if the last time you reported that members of council came out and toured the wastewater commission. I don't know if you reported that last time.
No, I didn't. That one wasn't there, but I mean, there were several members of council who did. I just
And
know that was part-
administration. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess that could take, I just thought that was part of council's activities versus the commission.
It's good though.
Yeah, it was very well attended, and I think there's still an opportunity in the middle of September for those members who couldn't make it to actually come out, or if they still are there, or another opportunity for members to actually see the plant in operation in the fall. It's a little bit of a difference between the seasons as to the plant flow and the like. But other than that, no, I have nothing. All my committees start up in September and we'll be going strong on every one of them.
Awesome. Okay, Councillor Hughes.
It's going to be pretty brief for me as well. The only thing I'm not sure if all of council knows or not. I know you know, Mayor, that the chair of the audit committee has served his notice. I think from discussions with him, it was just a challenge for he's overstretched his time commitments. And so he had to choose what to do. And so unfortunately, it will be to St. Albert's loss, but we will.
It's a huge loss.
Yeah. It definitely, and I do appreciate all the time and commitment he has given to this committee.
Have we started the process of recruiting another member? I'm seeing Cheryl's nodding, so yeah.
It falls within the 5 months for the recruiting, so we don't recruit in that 5 months.
So we'll wait till
span.
November.
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that was the only update we have in that. Everything else I have is going to be meeting in September. So probably the late September. So I don't even know if I'll have a lot to talk about next month either, but stay tuned and we can all anticipate with great joy when I come to speak again. That's it.
All right. How about you, Councillor Jolly?
Thanks. So Youth Advisory Committee didn't meet over the summer, so I did touch base with the chair just to make sure that we're ready to go for September. And then we had the interviews with Councillor Broadhead, which were fantastic, a really wonderful group that interviewed. Homeland Housing, they have moved into their new head office. So Wes, I know you were involved in identifying that as a need. I don't know how many years ago when you were on the board. So that is completed, which is fantastic.
Where is the new office?
It's in Morinville. So it's at one of the sites that Homeland already owned, and they renovated an old school.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. And that's it. So I'll have updates again at the end of next month.
Right. Councillor Broadhead.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So my summer has actually been quite busy, and mostly with the Edmonton Metropolitan Transit Service Commission. We're working hard to get our service plan together and to ensure that all 8 municipalities are able to participate. Quite honestly, I believe the plan went public today in accordance with the report that Edmonton administration is giving to their council. So a lot depends on Edmonton's decision around how and when they'll participate and to what extent. And then once that happens, it sort of cascades down, because then everybody's waiting for the budget numbers.
Yeah.
And the budget numbers come after this is finalized with Edmonton. Everybody else is sort of, the service offerings are sort of set. And but we're required to see what Edmonton is going to do. And once that happens, then we'll be able to roll out to everybody for their consideration what the budget will be. As well, the summer meeting with various, we were trying to socialize the branding exercise with CEOs and mayors in the region, get their feedback in relation to what the proposed branding vehicle would be. Some feedback, so there's been a minor change or two, but basically we'll go with that. So it's a busy summer in that regard. Many meetings, a lot of meetings with councillors from other municipalities, but it was a good summer in that respect. So Edmonton Salutes meets summer break at the end of September, and I'll report at that time.
All right, thanks. And then finally, Councillor Bermansky.
Okay, and as mentioned by Councillor Mackay, my committees did not meet during the summer, but we surely kept busy anyhow. So I just want to commend the Arts Committee, which I sit on, the Plaza Series, all the events that have been going on downtown this summer, the art walks. It's been a wonderful summer for the citizens of the city. There's always something to do, and that's what we're looking for, is keeping downtown busy. I sit on the CSAC and the Environmental Committee, as well as Councillor Killick, and just a couple little extras that I found intriguing. He was very thorough in his presentation, but at the community garden, they build something, I believe they're called swaths, where they actually catch the water at different levels on the hill. So they're planning on recycling their water right off the parking lot to keep the garden watered all the time. So that was a really, really amazing thing to me anyhow. And then they talked about the shortage of bus batteries. We found that out from the transit services there, and they are finding new access for it because there's been a long, long wait for replacement electric batteries. And then the last thing I wanted to commend is Jesse's House. I did do a fundraiser function with them, and they do amazing work for the region, for St. Albert, for women, for, you know, children. It's just a really, really great facility. And I'd like to see more of those in the future because they do such great work. So that's it for my update.
Thank you. I mean, I update you guys on my activities weekly, but for me, the summer was spent mostly on ambulance. The Provincial Advisory Committee had the very last meeting today. So thankfully that's wrapped up. That was a lot of work. The final report will be out soon. And the other big chunk of my work has been negotiating the allocation of the next iteration of MSI, which is the local government fiscal framework. So the Minister of Municipal Affairs has told RMA and Alberta municipalities to just figure it out amongst ourselves, how we're going to divide up our allowance. And yeah, that's been a lot of work too. That's again, one more meeting tomorrow. And then it's a little bit of touring around Alberta for summer's Leaders Caucus, but it's been a good summer. Thank you guys for, especially Councillor Mackay, for being deputy mayor and doing some of the work. You guys are very supportive of my role. So thank you for that.
It's scary. I opened up 2 bridal shops. It's very scary for an old man like me with no daughters or sons I want to get married.
No emergent items on our agenda. Okay, we do have a few IRs and stuff that need to be read into the record. Where is that? Councillor Killick, I'm going to go to you first because I know you for sure have some, right? Go ahead.
We have them on the screen or just
It's all on you.
Okay, please, IR under Fortis Streetlight Operations and Maintenance. Please provide an update on the negotiations with Fortis for Fortis to take over the operational maintenance of the road lighting along Ray Gibbon and Meadowview, plus any other streetlights currently maintained by the city. Please advise associated operational cost savings. And the second IR was please provide a breakdown on the total number of casual staff that are hired seasonally, grouped by the main job functions they perform, and specify if they work on capital, RMR, or operations, etc. budget items.
And you had a notice of motion too, right?
Yes, I do.
Yep.
So notice motion that council direct administration to either 1, decommission, or 2, convert to pay-per-use the Sun Country Highway EV charger that is currently located at the rear of the St. Albert Business Center, commonly known as the Economic Development Building, that the decommissioning or conversion be completed to coincide no later than the operational in-service date of the new chargers being installed at St. Albert Place as specified in Council Motion 22-014.
Okay, thanks. I think, Bill, you wanted to have a question for Councillor Killick?
Just a comment, I think, in terms of your second IR, Councillor, specific to the seasonal staff, we can absolutely designate our full-time versus temporary. And we can tell you the broad-based function, but as we start digging into how much of their time they spent on each of those functions, that's a very significant endeavor that will involve us breaking into pay sheets and time frame, a number of other things. So that will take longer than the IR time frame. I just wanted to provide that update, or if it's sufficient for us to be able to provide the grosso modo breakdown.
Maybe I could suggest that you and I could collectively discuss it with your team and just, I'm not looking for the granular kind of detailed deep dive level, but certainly kind of a high level, larger grouping would be sufficient.
Do you want to hold off on the IR until after your conversation?
Maybe we can keep the IR read in as is and have the meeting. And if we need to retract it, I can retract it after that meeting.
All right. I also had a budget information request from Councillor Bermansky.
I have to lean into the mic here and I'll need a longer cord. Please provide a list of annual contribution amounts in 2021, 2022, and planned for 2023 to the following: Edmonton Global, EMRB, Alberta Municipalities, FCM, Regional Transit, Alberta Innovates, and any other similar type organizations.
We had a list right before budget last year. I think probably Rayanne did it for me, just because I was curious myself too. I've already let Councillor Romansky know we don't contribute to Alberta Innovates, but Northwest River Alliance was on that list. So there's a little bit of a comprehensive list
Yeah,
somewhere.
we, your worship, we have, I think you did an IR last year.
Yeah.
With a list, and we can just bring the IR, sorry, bring that IR back.
Okay. Councillor Hughes.
Thank you. I have a question and then a motion. So my understanding is the solar farm and all of the adjoining information is going to be brought forward on September 6th. Is that still the plan?
Still the plan. Yep.
Okay. So as a follow-up then, like that's the long weekend. And typically we don't release the information to the public till 3 o'clock on a Friday. And this is a pretty, I say high public interest item. So is the intention then to release the information when it's presented to council and at least have it available on the website, like let's say as of Wednesday, or are we actually still planning to not release it till the Friday at 3 p.m.? And can we move it up?
Your worship, the current plan was to release it on Friday. If we can release it a little bit earlier than that.
So I guess I'm looking to you, but I'm also just looking at like Ledge in general or to the mayor, just because my concern is that releasing at 3 o'clock before a long weekend and then having the decision right after a long weekend, I don't think that we would be getting public feedback that we're being really transparent or helpful to allow them to make a decision if they wanted to say anything or wanted to do their own research. I have no idea what's going to come in this report. I just think that we didn't need to provide as much public information as possible. So is it possible? I don't know what the status is of this report. If we could release it earlier than the normal time.
Yeah, thank you. And to council members, I'm going to have David weigh in on, it's a procedural bylaw question. So I'm not sure if we'll have to have a motion from council to make a change or if we have a time frame to do that, but he'll have more information on specifically that change.
Okay, so
go ahead, David.
Yeah, I'd had this discussion internally earlier today. And I looked again at the procedure bylaw. The procedure bylaw is very cut and dried as to when reports get released, first to council, then to the public. That doesn't mean you can't change the procedure bylaw. You can always do that. It's council's bylaw. But in terms of the timing of this particular one, what I am looking at is a potential workaround to get that information out there sooner without breaching the procedure bylaw. I haven't had a chance to really wrap my head around it, but I do understand. I fully understand the desire to be sure that, you know, information gets out there as soon as possible. And the only other thing I'll point out is that if once council sees what this report consists of, if they feel that it's premature to proceed with any motions on September 6th, it's always open to council to move to postpone any discussion or motions to a future council meeting. You can always do that. So I just don't overlook that you have a number of procedural things at your disposition if you need them. But that said, since the intention is, and certainly agenda planning did set it for the 6th of September, I will attempt to find a workaround to get it out early, assuming it's ready early. I don't know if it will be, but if it's ready, let's say on the 1st of September or something, or on the 31st of August, you know, just picking dates out of the air. If it's ready, I will try to find a workaround to enable us to do it without breaching the bylaw.
Would it help if I just did a motion to just, I realize we have to waive of notice, just say provide us early as possible this week? And then it would be up to when it's actually ready to go. And that way you wouldn't have to do a workaround because we could allow it to come out earlier.
A motion such as that, if accompanied by the usual companion motion to waive the 21-day notice period, and if that passes, a motion to that effect would be helpful, because then you know that motion then would take precedence over the normal time. Again, as long as the motion doesn't direct the administration to release something that's not ready yet.
Right. Like Mayor, I realize this just occurred to us in this conversation. Otherwise I would have had it written up, but I would like to do a motion that we just allow it to be available when it's available to the council. And that doesn't preclude you from doing it at whatever time it's available, but at least we can make an effort to try to do that. Would that be acceptable?
Yeah, you can always make a motion, but you have to do the waiving of.
Yes.
Do you want to take a 10-minute break and write it up?
Sure, or 5 minutes.
Okay, 5 minutes?
Yeah, and I can send it right now.
Right.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, want to read your motion in?
Okay, so that the 21-day notice of council motion be waived would be the first part.
Right, start with that. I'll accept that motion. Do,
Do a single motion.
okay,
Can I do it all at once?
As well.
sure, I don't.
Okay. And that following the motion be debated and voted upon immediately, that administrative report on the solar farm and related matters scheduled for the September 6th, 2022 council meeting be made available to the public at the time it is made available to council during the week of August 29th, 2022, or as soon as practical thereafter.
All right. Are you guys good voting on that together, or do you want to split out the waiving and vote against it if you want? You have that privilege. Were you okay all together? Okay, all right, all together. Any more
Okay.
thoughts on this, Councilor Hughes?
Yeah, this just kind of came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting to do this motion, but that being said, I don't know what all of the report is going to say, but we do know there has been an extraordinary amount of public interest in this topic, and it has been going on for quite some time. And the reason why I'd like to have it available, even if it's just a day prior, is because it's going into the long weekend. And there's just so many people that have so many plans that are going into the long weekend and then presenting it long weekend and then making a decision on the Tuesday of the long weekend again, right after the long weekend. I just think it will be, I want the public to understand that we're trying to provide as much information and transparency in this decision-making process as possible, and allow them to have that information and not have to be going over it over a long weekend if possible. So regardless of whether the outcome, what the outcome ends up being, I think that if it is available to council, we can provide it to the public at a similar type timeline for anyone who is interested, that we have at least tried to do the best that we can to relay that information and not require unnecessary delays in the event that they want to speak in favor, against, or anything else. So, and we're just talking about probably a day or two tops of what we're providing here. But for some people, that day or two will make a difference. So, and with that, that's all I have.
All right, anyone else? Call for the vote. Voting's closed. And that motion passes unanimously.
I had one other notice of motion that did not require a waiver.
Okay.
Okay, that administration annually provide at a council meeting, a service place annual financial report by Q3 each year, and provide council a financial report for service place for 2021 and the financials for Q1 through Q3 for 2022 by November 1st of 2022.
All right.
That's it.
You
Thank
said that in. All right. Anyone else have an IR information request or notice of motion? I know that Councillor Killick has some questions that we hope to get answered right here in chamber, so I'll let you go start with those now.
Thank you. A couple of questions then that were carryover from our previous council meeting where we just kind of were time constrained. So if we just get a progress on our replacement tree planting. I know we normally target 200 a year. The last update we had was that we were trying to accomplish 300. Where are we at with that one? And everybody loves their trees in St. Albert, so I'm sure many people would be interested.
Yeah, thank you, your worship, and to members of council. The administration is on track to complete the 300, well, approximately 300 trees by the end of October for this year's planting season.
Great, thank you for that update. I looked at our city website and the status of the Telus fiber build was a high degree of interest to residents. We had a presentation from Telus. It seems that the website actually shows less areas being expanded this year than was previously indicated. And I believe we also had a request to have administration talk to Telus and see if they could speed things up for our residents, and I wonder where we're at with that. And it's a two-part question, really, I guess.
Thanks, Councillor. We'll have to take that away and get back to you. We do not have an answer right now on that.
Okay, thank you. One of the other carryover questions was that, and this is a very good news story, I guess, is that what I found is that there are a number of consistent questions that residents have of our staff. And once they get that person's name and phone number, which is great, communication between staff and residents is great. But my question is that that person that may have made an inquiry to a staff member about trees now has that individual's direct phone number and phones them to ask about garbage collection or pothole construction or whatever. And that good contact information direct gets extrapolated out all over the place. And I'm just wondering if that's, number one, the best use of our staff's time. And are we getting the right answers to residents? And really, is there a better way to do that and make sure that residents are contacting the right department and not kind of just someone who they know based on a call they had last year?
Yeah, to your worship, thank you, Councillor, for the question. Maybe I'll start at the back and work my way forward. It is absolutely not the best use of our staff's time and is actually counterproductive for the resident to get the answer they want, because what we've effectively done is created a question in the wrong area that now has to go through multiple layers to get the answer when in fact, with the right contact information, they could have gone direct. What I would say to residents, is that the fastest response, if you know where to go, is to call the number on the city website and the contact information, to call the department that's specific to what you're asking for. That is the surest way to get a fastest and most accurate answer that you want. In many cases, though, we recognize that folks may not know who they need to talk to. And in those instances, we have 780-459-1500 as the city information line, and that will assist us in directing people to the right department so that they, again, avoid multiple layers. I think what we see often is, in addition to what you've described, where folks have a contact information and they use it for everything, folks also don't know where to go. So they call multiple numbers, hoping that eventually they'll land in the right place. And both those things end up ultimately delaying the answer and chewing up staff's time that could be used in other areas and other priorities. So what for that? Some of this is on us. Some of this is disciplining our folks when we do have interactions with residents on specific issues. If we get calls that are outside that, is to assist in directing them the right way. I think we can do a little bit of communications to that end out to the public as city staff to reinforce that. The long-term answer will probably be an actual call system that would allow us to track and direct, but that's not funded and probably won't be anytime soon. So I don't know if that answers your question specifically, Councillor, but that is absolutely a concern and something we're working at internally.
Yeah, it absolutely does. Thank you. Answers the question. And it really was about improving communications to from residents to our city, to the right people for the right answer, not to shut it down or control it in any way, but better manage it, I think is the way I look at it. So thank you for that answer. A couple of maybe easy ones. Notice a lot of dead petunia planters around the city. They are totally dried up, dead, and kind of look terrible. They started off looking nice, but two questions, and that is, is that a contractor failing to water them? And that's the first question, I guess. And second one is, can we just remove them earlier than their regular pickup schedule, just to get rid of them because they're dead? I don't think they're going to come back to life.
Your worship and to members of council, the contractor is in the process of replacing a lot of the plantings around the city right now. July was very difficult in terms of keeping up to date on the water, very stressful. The contractor is also in their last year of providing the service, and this will be getting relooked at for 2023 and beyond. So it is something that is being dealt with, and Salisbury at the Enjoy Center is doing the best they can. And so we will be seeing some replacements as the days go by.
Okay, thank you. Similar question on just the look of the city. I'm very proud of our city and our botanical arts, but boy, there sure seems to be a lot of unfortunate empty lots. And I won't pick on a particular business, but for example, the Mohawk Husky on St. Albert Trail, the weeds there are at least 4 feet tall. And I assume they still own the property, but they're not maintaining it. So not maintaining their own property. And then the other piece of that, there's also the lot behind it. There's a lot at the end of Giroux and Ray Gibbon that is owned by some grocery store company that's, again, full of weeds. In particular, the Mohawk Husky one, the other follow-up question is, we maintain right up to the sidewalk on a lot of boulevards. When we have a vacant landowner, it seems that the space between the sidewalk and the road, I don't know who's supposed to maintain it, but again, lots of these vacant boulevards just look terrible. And do we proactively approach landowners to clean up their lots, or does somebody have to report it to municipal, like a resident have to report it to municipal policing and have them then generate a report? Or how does that get looked after? Multiple pieces there, I know, but
Well, thank you, Your Worship, and through to members of council and Councillor Killick. Great questions. Through the community standards bylaw, there's basically 2 processes. One of them is it's a direct complaint from resident or a business owner on the conditions of a vacant land or on someone's property. The other option is if a city worker or MES sees a property, they can take action directly on that as well. So basically, if the land has weeds or grass or whatever that is over 15 centimeters, they are approached by MES and to rectify. If they don't rectify, they go through a series of process, and there are fines identified in the community standards bylaw of up to $1,000. We don't want to get to that point. We can also do the work and charge them back. So there's different mechanisms in place, and the city on our vacant lots that we own and places like that, they go through a mowing cycle of a couple times a year. So there's different processes in place on this, but and as to answer that question as well, most of the complaints come through on the community standards bylaw from someone reporting. Both staff and MES do have the mechanism to take action themselves.
so specifically on the 2 sites on St. Albert Trail, Mohawk, and then the piece behind it, I think our community standards is like 15 centimeters of weeds, which is like, I don't know, 6 inches. And the weeds there are like 4 feet.
I do know.
Will we be able to take care of that? Because it's just, driving into our city, it just looks pretty scruffy.
And we can definitely do some following up with MES, but I do know that MES is working with the property owner as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Go ahead.
Actually, Your Worship, thank you. We actually have Tim Saunders, I think, online, and he can answer your Telus question if you don't mind circling back to that, Councillor. Thank you.
Sure. Thank you, through yourself, Madam Mayor, to Councillor Killick. So the 2022 Telus project included portions of downtown Grand and Sturgeon, Mission, and Northridge neighborhoods. Northridge had a bit of carryover from 2021. The majority of the 2022 work is an aerial installation, with Telus installing their fiber network on Fortis poles with some directional drilling on a few streets. For the small underground installation, they should be pulling fiber into the newly installed conduit soon and anticipate completion this fall. The aerial installation is moving along quickly and is not intrusive, as it's just a ladder for workers to access the Fortis poles. It is standard practice for the build team to revisit the previous year's installation areas to address deficiencies. And that's why the 2023 update has the same areas listed again. But as far as any additional sites or completion of next year's program, we have not been provided with the 2023 locations as of yet. It's a private utility. They're in control of the schedule and build locations, but we do anticipate getting those locations through this winter. We'll be advising in spring of 2023.
Okay, thanks for that update. Appreciate it. And I totally recognize we don't control the company putting it in, but it's good to get that information out to our residents as well.
Yeah. Understood. Thank you.
All right, got your questions answered? We're good. Anything else from any member of council on BIR's information requests or just general questions or announcements? Okay, seeing none. I need a
Sorry,
motion.
Mayor, something just occurred to me to ask. Do you mind?
No, good.
So earlier today, it was mentioned that the RCMP has a new kind of process for reporting graffiti. Is that something that the city is partnering in, as we clean up graffiti on city property to try to identify or to try to work with the RCMP to
Yeah, I think it was Project Lighthouse was the question that I asked, and it's a program that has a database and it helps crime investigation identify the meaning behind the graffiti and the tags.
Yeah.
And from what I understood, they haven't implemented Project Lighthouse in St. Albert yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I guess my question would be, is the city as an entity going to be working with them to report everything that's coming through Spruce It Up or whatever other processes, or do we know yet?
I don't know that.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Jolly, and your worship and members of council. I'd have to get back to you on that question, but I'm pretty confident that our MES would be highly involved in this.
Okay, thank you.
Sure, good question. All right, motion to go in camera with the city manager. Councillor Killick, thank you.
That council move in camera to have a confidential dialogue with the chief administrative officer pursuant to section 24-1-A of the Freedom of Information and Privacy Act.
All right, call for the vote. Voting is closed and that is unanimous. All right, we'll meet in council chambers. You're going to pass the host over to me.
You're good at massive one. The TV cameras were there. People didn't get on our flight. We held it for half an hour and they still didn't make it to 30. We held it for 15 minutes for people coming from another flight. They made it. Then we held it for another 15 minutes for people stuck in security. They didn't make it. They said we have to push back, otherwise we're going to miss our takeoff spot. We landed here. It was now half an hour late, and there was nobody to greet us because all the other flights were screwed up.
No ground.
So we had to, no ground crew, and we had to sit on the runway for 15 minutes.
I hate sitting around when you land. I want to go right to the gate. It's so long to just do the taxiways. You know, you're like, I want to get there right now. And then you sit into the route and you're like, is this the most direct taxiway, really? Like I think about taxiway for as long as I was on the plane in the air.
Well,
That's how I feel.
Yeah, poor little kid on that, as we're sitting there on the tarmac, you know, little kids yelling in here, and I couldn't see them, but, oh, we have to go pee, oh, we have to go pee. They're not, got.
Can't do it.
Seatbelts on, sorry. So I don't know how old this poor little guy was, but.
He might solve the problem himself.
Yeah. But you feel for him, right? Because like, you can see the air, well, we can all see the airport and you can't get there first.
Were you in Abbotsford or?
No.
So some guy named John.
Hey, guys, just so you know, this is streaming live on YouTube.
Host and Sean is at the, if Kathy knows, because we need to make breakout room. Because right now, everything that we're talking about could potentially.
John is the communication support. That's who the screen I'm sharing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
John's not Russian or Chinese.
Yeah. So what it says our in camera is being broadcast right now.
They